The following is brought to you by Digital Shelf Space, producers of GSP Rush Fit and Tour Academy Home Edition. Visit them online at digitalshelfspace.com.
Welcome to Cambridge House Live. I'm Vanessa Collette at the Toronto Resource Investment Conference. I'm joined by John McCoach, President of the TSX Venture Exchange. Welcome, John. Great to have you here with us.
Thanks, Vanessa.
John, what is the state of the Venture Exchange today?
Markets are challenging right now. Trading volume has been increasing over the last several weeks. I hope that's a leading indicator of better times to come.
That's great. And recently there was a town hall meeting in which there was some concern expressed over the potential for a mass amount of delistings. What ended up happening? How did that play out?
We've actually had a few town hall meetings and several other meetings with stakeholders, and we talk to stakeholders all the time. A few people have been prophesizing that hundreds of TSX Venture companies would disappear. In fact, they started talking about that probably 18 months ago, and it just simply didn't happen. And I don't think it will happen. There's no question there are a lot of junior explorers that are having a challenging time right now, but it's a very resilient group of companies, and not all of them will make it, but I'm confident that the vast majority will.
And even if not as many companies delist as people were thinking, there's a lot of companies on the exchange right now that have little to no money left. How does that affect the markets?
Well, it definitely has an impact on the markets. Investors should be looking at balance sheets, and that'll play into how a company's stock performs. But if they have a good management team that's able to access capital, able to control costs, and eventually get back out and raise capital, advance their projects, hopefully those companies will do well.
So what can be done about the situation right now, do you think, in terms of getting financing and capital to these companies and providing more access for them?
Well, I think a number of things can be done. We're working with securities regulators in Canada to try to help companies access capital. We're amending our policies to help lighten the burden where we can. But at the same time, none of us want to sort of compromise the market integrity that the Canadian markets have enjoyed for a long time now. So it's always a balancing act. But I'll give you a couple of examples. We've been talking to the securities commissions for several years now, even when the market was very strong, about additional prospectus exemptions that would allow their company's existing shareholders to participate in financings. As you probably know, the accredited investor exemption is heavily relied on in Canada. It's a great exemption. I think we're very fortunate to have it, but it often doesn't allow many existing shareholders to participate in further financings. So we're a strong advocate of that.
So when you look at all the private placements out there, do you think that requiring investors to be accredited, hurts companies' abilities to raise more capital?
The accredited investor exemption is just one of a number of exemptions that's available to companies, but it's probably that and the exemptions available for officers and directors and controlling shareholders to participate in financing. So the most efficient ones. So that's logically where companies will go if the capital is available to them. So I don't think the accredited investor exemption hurts capital raising in Canada at all. I think it's a very good tool. What we're suggesting is there could be additional tools.
You returned the 5-cent minimum listing, but allowed for easier share rollbacks. What's your strategy there?
Well, we expect, like a lot of people do, that a lot of the companies that, as you point out, are going to have to go to the market in the next 12 to 18 months. A number of them are going to likely have to do share consolidations to make that feasible. And so what we've looked at sort of a balance, and we think that a share consolidation of 1 new for 10 old or up to 1 new for 10 old without having to go for shareholder approval is reasonable. And so we have amended our policies to allow for that. It doesn't help every company because in some jurisdictions corporate law requires shareholder approval, but it will help the majority of our listed companies.
And are there any other strategies out there right now that you're pursuing in order to help some struggling companies?
We've been a strong advocate for improving the rights offering process in Canada.
Okay.
We think, and I think a lot of people share this view, that a rights offering is sort of a fundamentally fair way of accessing capital. Of course, it just allows your existing shareholders to maintain their pro rata interest. And so the commissions are working with us to find solutions. That's a long-term project, but we also think there might be some short-term wins that we could find there. We're also looking within, and I think we have a great staff who are very committed to facilitating companies doing business on the exchange. But there's always room for improvement. So we're looking at a number of things there. I'll give you one example. The technical report requirements in Canada, 43101 in the mining sector, is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important advances for credibility of the Canadian markets. It's really
protecting shareholders.
Just improving disclosure, helping shareholders, having a consistent level of disclosure is really important. It attracts international investors to our market. But it's still a point of friction for a number of companies because there's challenges in getting it right. And so we want to work with companies, we want to work with the consultants who draft those to help make that process more streamlined.
What can be done to attract big money into the venture?
Commodity prices increase.
Right.
That's all of the things that we can do are very important, and we're going to work on those every day. But macroeconomic issues are really the driver of markets.
Absolutely. Great. Well, it was wonderful having you here this morning, John. We appreciate your time and look forward to having you back again soon.
My pleasure. Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank you, John. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.